change the things around you. Oh, what you gonna love inside of you? Oh, when you gonna hear his revelation? Oh, oh, let it move inside of you. Life ain't no
Welcome everyone to Infinite Perspectives, where voices become vision and where every meaningful conversation reminds us that purpose is rarely discovered all at once. Sometimes it reveals itself one chapter, one decision, one act of service at a time. I am Michelle Diamond, the voice, author, PR strategist, philanthropist, founder of Next Level Promotion, and co founder and steward of Perspectives. Linda?
Hi there. Thank you, Michelle. I am Linda Boston, founder of Peer Incorporated, author, actress, singer, storyteller, community builder, and co founder and steward of Infinite Perspectives. Tonight, we invite you into a conversation that challenges one of the greatest misconceptions about purpose. Many of us grow up believing that we must discover one calling, maybe even choose one path, and to spend our lives proving we made the right decision. But what if purpose isn't that limited? What if one's life was always designed to hold many callings? What
Ooh,
if every experience, every lesson, every unexpected turn wasn't pulling us away from purpose, but expanding our capacity to live it?
wow.
Hmm.
Great question there, Linda. Thank you. Tonight's conversation isn't simply about careers, titles, or accomplishments. It's about the architecture beneath them, the unseen foundation that supports a life of impact.
Hmm.
Because before a building ever reaches toward the sky, someone first had to imagine the blueprint.
Yeah.
They had to pour the foundation, measure every beam, and trust a vision long before anyone else could see what was being built.
Hmm.
Perhaps purpose works the very same way.
I wouldn't be surprised. Our guest this evening has lived a life that refuses to fit inside a single definition. Educator, leader, producer, founder, mentor,
Mm,
visionary, each role distinct, yet beautifully connected.
yes.
And tonight, we're going to explore how those pieces come together to reveal something much greater than a resume. We're
Mhm.
going to discover the architecture of purpose.
Absolutely. And you know what, Linda? There comes a moment in many of our lives, right? When we
Uh-huh.
begin asking questions that success alone can't even answer. Is this all I'm here to do?
Mhm.
Have I outgrown the role I've been living? A question I ask myself all the time. Can one person truly carry multiple callings without losing themselves?
Mm.
These are questions of ambition. These are questions that we have to consider are of alignment.
Mhm.
Too often, the world encourages us to introduce ourselves by what we do. I'm a teacher, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm an artist, I'm a parent. You heard our accolades in the beginning, right? But
Yeah.
perhaps those are just simply expressions of something rooted much deeper.
Yeah.
Purpose alone isn't just a title, purpose is actually the thread that
Ah,
quietly connects every season of our lives.
okay.
Tonight, We'll explore what happens when one life becomes large enough to honor every calling it was created to carry.
Oh, yeah. I'm looking forward to that. One of the beautiful things about purpose is that it rarely asks us to become someone else. Instead, it invites us to become more fully ourselves, not by abandoning one chapter for another, but by allowing every chapter to strengthen the story. When purpose becomes the foundation, every experience, every relationship, every challenge, and every opportunity finds its rightful place. And perhaps that's the true architecture of a meaningful life.
Absolutely. I love that. And to delve in, we are proud to let everyone know Infinite Perspectives is made possible through the support of organizations and individuals who believe in the power of authentic conversations to inspire meaningful change. Tonight's episode is proudly brought to you by Peer Incorporated, empowering individuals and strengthening communities through purpose, education, and opportunity. Next Level Promotion, a division of Infinite Perspectives, elevating brands, amplifying visions, helping founders, organizations, authors, and visionaries align their story with their strategy. Moniker Enterprises created pathways for innovation, leadership, and lasting community impact. And Carlotta Cole, the brand, helping individuals discover, develop, and confidently walk in their authentic truth. And last but definitely not least, Unlimited Networks Property Management, building relationships through exceptional property management and trusted service.
Ah, yes. To each of our sponsors, thank you for believing that conversations can change perspectives and that change perspectives can change lives. Tonight, we have the privilege of welcoming a man whose life reminds us that purpose doesn't always arrive in a single form. Sometimes it expands. Sometimes it stretches us into places we never imagined. Sometimes it asks us to serve in ways that cannot be summarized by one title. Our guest has dedicated his life to education, leadership, media, community engagement, mentorship, and creating opportunities for others to discover the greatness within themselves. Yet, through every chapter, one thing that has remained remarkably consistent is his commitment to people. When we began preparing for tonight's conversation, we noticed something interesting. The more we learned about Dr. Solomon Pollard, the harder it became to describe him with a single title. Because Educator doesn't fully capture it, producer doesn't fully capture it, founder doesn't fully capture it, leader doesn't fully capture it. Each title tells part of the story, but none tells the whole story. And perhaps that's exactly what purpose looks like. Not a single lane, but a life faithfully responding every time another opportunity to serve appears. Tonight,
And
we're honored.
yeah,
Tonight, we're
go.
honored to explore that journey. Please join us in welcoming Dr. Solomon Pollard, educator, visionary, producer, founder, and a man whose life continues to demonstrate that one life can indeed hold many callings. Dr. Pollard, welcome to Infinite Perspectives.
Thank you so much. That was a really wonderful, marvelous introduction. I'm sitting here trying not to blush, but that was just so kind of you.
Please do, please do.
Well, thank you. That was fascinatingly nice of you to take time out and to put me out there on that in that way. It's normal for all of us to be a little bit shy and a little bit humble. And I don't usually get a whole lot of accolades. I'm just busy working, just getting it done. So when you take out a moment and you point at me like that, there's a part of me that wants to kind of hide under the table because I try to remain humble in what I do, wherever I am, whatever there is on the table in front of me, because I know that all that I am comes from the Lord. So I like to give him all the praise and all the glory. And it's fine if I don't get the praise and glory. That's fine for me as long as he does. One of us, I prefer it to be him, but that was very nice of you. So thank you so much for that introduction.
You're
Yes,
welcome.
I agree. Beautiful, Linda. That was amazing. Thank you for sharing some of his amazing accolades with us. Dr. Pollard, to dive right in, before the titles that Linda so eloquently laid out for us here today, before the leadership, before the organizations, there was simply Solomon. Tell us
Hmm.
about those early years. Who were you before the world began introducing you by your accomplishments?
I was Addie's boy. My mom's name is Addie, and I was her boy. And I had a close knit family. I didn't get a chance to grow up with my dad, but I had my granddad, and he was the man in my life, the person that I imprinted off of. So the family that I have, let me just step back make one step back here and say, I'm at the center of who I am is the Lord. I'm about his business. I'm his property. And I saw that early on because that was placed in front of me by my mom in her life. She was a devout Christian. She lived what I would call the closest I've seen to a righteous life, where you just try to do the right thing by everybody, no matter what. If the Lord says, do this, she's going to do it. Give that lady $5, just walk up to her. My mom would do that, even if it was her last $5.
Hmm.
So I imprinted off of her. I copy her behavior with regard to how she handled her Christian way of life. But, it all goes back even before that to the Lord. I was talking to some students back when I was in graduate school, and one of them was Jewish. And he said, there's a Jewish tradition, a central legacy that we have that says before you came to earth to take on your challenge and your task, he said, you stood before the Lord and he told you, here's what I want you to accomplish while you're down there. And he said, now here are families that you can go through to help you get to and arrive at this purpose that I have for you. And you get to choose what family you want to go through. Therefore, the family that you find yourself in is not a mistake. It's not a oops. It's you chose that one. You chose to be in that group because they're the best ones who are equipped to get you to that purpose that the Lord has for you. I've operated my whole life based on that thinking. And therefore, if you look behind the curtain, it's those family people who bagged me up, who helped me to be what I am. Growing up, I was just a silly little boy like everybody else. I didn't really have infinite purpose and thinking in my mind.
Hmm.
I was just trying to make my mom proud of me. I think that was central to my thinking. And therefore, my family consisted of my mom and my sister. It was three of us together. I didn't meet my dad until I graduated from college. That's the first time I got a chance to meet him. My mom brought him to graduation and didn't tell me she was going to bring him. So I didn't know what to call him. I was completely shocked. And we forged a relationship after that.
Hmm.
And part of who he is, my mom wanted me to meet him because she said, you are just like him. You need to know where you're going and you need to meet him in that. So first of all, that I hung out with my mom and my sister. So I'm very good when it comes to being with ladies. Okay. They raised me well. If you want to go shopping, I'm the one. Because I can sit there and you can look at every dress in the mall and then we'll go to every store outside the mall. I'm fine with that. I have immense patience with females and the logic that is them, that is not necessarily me, but I get it. And the patience that goes along with it, they kind of taught me that. So those were my two people, ladies, that I think put me in that path of where Abraham Lincoln was. He said 95% of all that I am comes from my mom. I agree with that. It came from her. So I always, in what I'm doing, try my best not to let her down and try to be there according to what she would do. And I asked that question in the back of my head. What would my mom do with this one?
Mhm.
And so the patience that I have, the pursuit of what the Lord will have me do originally comes from her.
Mm.
Okay, so my mom and my sister were the primary people in my life. My sister was the big sister.
Mhm.
Boy, what are you, boy? Will you do? You need to clean up this. Mom wants this clean when she comes home. She was that person, but she also was that person who would help me figure it out. You see, you ladies don't when it comes. You tend to mature faster than we guys, and so a lot of things are logical to you, and you get it. Don't assume that guys get it. It takes a
Mhm.
while. When I
Mhm.
was 25, I figured I had a little bit of sense by then. But before then, no, she was that person in my corner who
Mhm.
gave me that advice that I
Mhm.
needed to have that helped me to shape into the man that I became. So it was
Wow.
those two ladies who I think are central in my upbringing. And then there's my granddad and grandmom. Those were the only other two people that I
Mhm.
had. There were some other people that came along beside them. But my granddad was the guy that I think I chose this family because of him. I
Mhm.
chose this because he's the guy who rolled up beside me and put all kinds of thinking, foundational thinking in me that I needed from another male. I needed to imprint off of another male. He was the one. For example, with my dad, he said, son, I think I was 5, 6, somewhere in there, maybe 7. And he said, son, it's really a shame that your dad didn't hang out with you. He didn't give you what he needed to give you. You're a
Mhm.
man, and it is a powerful existence. And you need another man to help you figure that out. And your
Mhm.
dad, that was his job. But he wasn't the one for that at this time. And therefore, don't you worry. I got you. And therefore, every weekend, he would call my mom and say, what is little man doing?
Mhm.
And my mom would ask me, you have anything up? And I'd say, no. So you want to go and work with your granddad? Yeah. Because whatever he was doing was always fun and fascinating. So he
Mhm.
taught me how to do plumbing. He taught me how to do electrical work. He
Okay.
taught me how to handle myself with tools. He taught me how to do sheetrock. He taught me how to do roofing, fencing. He taught me how to do everything. And his thinking was simple. What you don't know how to do, you have to pay somebody. And it's
Mm.
better that you do it yourself. And all you need to do it yourself is the right tools. You have the right tools, you can handle anything that comes before you. So he
Yeah.
was the one who put me on the path. He was the
Yeah.
first man, he was the biggest thing I ever knew because he was left-handed and he worked at the wire mill where they made sheet metal and that
Wow.
kind of thing. And he was very strong and powerful. He stooped down beside me one day and his bicep, his arm, upper arm, was as wide as my chest. So clearly he was the most
Wow.
powerful thing I
Yeah.
Wow.
had
Wow.
ever
Wow.
known.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
So,
amazing. Oh,
yes.
Yes.
goodness. And those
Yes.
foundations are absolutely necessary. Those
Right.
are the moments and the people in life that you pretty much develop purpose and foundation that sets you on your path. So, thank you for sharing those amazing people with us.
Yes,
Right,
absolutely.
right. Was there ever a season when your path looked completely different, though, than what you imagined for your life? And if so, what did that season teach
Mm,
Growth is weird in that it comes when you don't expect it.
you?
I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know that this event or this experience was going to affect me in the future this way or cause my thinking to expand or any of that. None of that was in my thinking. I was just a kid who wanted to play basketball in the backyard all day. So I
Right.
really didn't have destiny in mind. What I found was the Lord had it in mind. And
Mm-hmm.
nothing that I have experienced has been a mistake. Stuff doesn't just happen. Everything has a purpose.
I know
The
mistake.
Lord is that way. He has a timetable for everything. And even Jesus came up against that timetable. He didn't like it either. I don't, I'm
Oh,
in a
yeah.
hurry. I want
Mhm.
to find and get to that end point or that plateau faster than the Lord wants me there. But there's joy in the journey, and therefore
Mhm.
He's taken me lots of places over my life that I never would have been.
Mhm.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
Moments
With
like
you
this,
saying that,
yeah,
Mhm.
we see that purpose really begins with recognition and it begins with preparation long
Mhm.
before the world even sees the building. And as you mentioned, God is often the person that is strengthening the foundation.
Right.
right, right.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
I think that as we move through life, as we grow through life, the first
Mhm.
challenge is to figure out, now, where do you stand? Where do you stand, first of all, with regard to the Lord? Where do you stand with
Hmm.
regard to family? Where do you stand with regard to people? Because I think we all know that as you get to this side of life, past 40, you know, it could go any day. It could go wrong. You could be on the other side very quickly. And when you look at, okay, what have I done that's going to outlive me? Well, the
Right.
answer is that nothing that you can do will outlive you except how you touch people's lives. That'll
Yeah.
outlive you because
Yes.
then you
Yes.
pass a little bit of yourself to them. So
Correct.
Yes.
taking time out to invest time in people is probably the most profound way of approaching life.
Mhm.
Is putting that investment. That's money in the bank for a few generations.
Mhm.
It'll remain. I still
Mhm.
remember and mention people in my legacy that were just profound at one moment or another, such as the Mabels in my life. I had two of them in my life. One was Mabel Anderson, Dr. Mabel Anderson. She's the
Mhm.
one who I went to visit, an aunt. I went to visit her for the summer. And she had this stiff way of doing things where you don't come here and just play all summer. No, you got to do some. First of all, you need to take a class, either a math class or a language class. So I took
Mhm.
Spanish. She said you need to do something that's fun, sports wise. So I took golf. And then the last thing was you need to do something that's creative. So she put me in, I took guitar lesson. I took that first guitar lesson, and let me just tell you, in my young life, I have never seen anything that logical. It's like the sky split open, and that was clearly the most logical thing I had ever seen. To which I told her after we paid for that one lesson, which was $16 back then, that was a lot of money. And I told her, don't pay this guy any more money, just
Mhm.
buy me the guitar and the book and I got this. And she saw
Mhm.
that drive in me and she did that. She bought the book and gave me, I bought a guitar, a cheap, inexpensive guitar. And it took me about a week and a half to master all the chords. And by the end of 2 weeks, I could play anything on the radio. And it blew
Huh.
her away that, wow, that's it. I think that's because that's a gift. When it comes to
Yeah.
you to that level very quickly, I think that's a gift. And so she
Mhm.
put that in my life, and the other Mabel put science in my life. Mabel Phillips was the lady who was my junior year in high school. She was a science teacher in physics, and she asked me to do a science project. And I said, okay. I said, what do I do one on? What do you suggest? She said, do one on whatever you're interested in. I said, okay, I'm interested in music, but I don't know how I can make that into a science project. And she said,
Mhm.
think about it. Yeah, you can. You can figure it out. Give me two or
Uh-huh.
three ideas by tomorrow. And I came in the next day. I said, I can connect my guitar, my amplifier, to beans and put them in a cup with soil and see
Mhm.
if my guitar work, the electromagnetic energy that I send from my guitar, from my
Mhm.
amplifier to them,
Mhm.
see if that makes them grow faster. Well, it
Hmm.
Yeah.
did. Four,
Mhm.
four out of the six grew faster and taller.
Mhm.
Now that I like to see all six grow, so that didn't convince me. She saw me work through it every day, coming in and playing and all that went along with it. And she said, Solomon, I think you could do science. I think you could settle in and you could do this. And
Yeah.
I never thought of it that way, but she said that, and that affected me. So between her and my aunt gave me the creative side, and Mabel
Hmm.
Phillips put me on the path of science. So those two individuals sowed into my life, which then expanded, and those seeds grew very quickly
Mm.
into something that I can't do without. I can't stop being a scientist, and I
Mhm.
can't stop being a music producer. I will do both of those until I'm no longer here. So
Mhm.
yes, my destiny was tied into those ladies who led me, who knew what they were doing, or who made the best calls in the world, and the rest has gone fine because of them.
So
Beautiful.
those are the values that were being built into your foundation long before anyone ever knew your name.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and it also, the thing about working with others, that
Hmm.
started early. In elementary school, I was asked to mentor a disadvantaged child, a little
Ah,
girl who was having problems reading. The program
wonderful.
was called PAL, um,
Mm-hmm.
Partner Assisted Learning.
Hmm.
So having a student teach you, somebody your age, was a good call at the time, and I would sit there and work with her on her reading. And that I was in the seventh, eighth grade at that point because I was getting ready to go to high school. There was no middle school in my childhood, so I went to high school after that, and I worked with her sort of like a big brother. I took her under my wing, and
Hmm.
I didn't keep contact with her after school, but after elementary school. But yeah, I know she did fine after that because I watched her reading. I watched her desire to read kick into gear. That's what learning is. It has to come with some desire. You got to want to know that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the brain says, let's go eat a popsicle. So
All
she would
right.
hang in there, and I was able to help her get
Mm-hmm.
going. Um, and it
Yeah.
gave me a chance to establish a mentoring foundation, as you were saying, where
Mm-hmm.
I get it. And being there for students was a part of my destiny. We even did that in my fraternity. I joined the Alphas while I was in college.
Okay.
And
Hmm. Okay.
yeah,
We
so
know now.
okay, cool. So you know that what we did was we mentored young people who were coming in. My mentoring with them was very simple and straight on. If you
Mhm.
need anything book wise, we
Yeah.
have all the old tests in the fraternity room. We will
Mhm.
hook you up. I will mentor you. I will do whatever I need to make sure you're prepared. You will make good grades here. There is
Yeah.
no other option, and I'm
Yeah.
not hearing it otherwise. So we would do that
Right.
to the young men that we would work with, and it
That's
really
wonderful.
facilitated their learning. Yeah,
That's wonderful. Dr. Pollard, one of the reasons we asked you to join us tonight and why tonight's conversation resonated with us is because your journey reminds us that purpose isn't always linear, you know?
right.
And many people believe they have one calling, one lane, one identity. Yet your life reflects something very different. It reflects education, media, leadership, mentorship, production, community engagement. So,
Yes.
did you always envision your life unfolding this way, or did each calling reveal itself one step at a time?
One thing leads to another. It's always been that way. In the
Hmm.
world of music, I started producing music because of a house that the Lord gave us. We couldn't afford that house, but we wanted it anyway. Our eyes were bigger than our bellies, if you will. So we wanted that house, and the bank said, we didn't really want to give you this house because we don't do loans for people to fail, and you carrying too much debt. They were right, absolutely. Yet we wanted it. We prayed about it, and we later found out that we got the house, and
Mm-hmm.
people in the boardroom were fighting for us to get the house. We didn't know them, but the
Hmm.
Lord has His practicing angels, some of everywhere. So we went because He did that for us, and we saw Him do that. We then
Hmm.
said, okay, we got to give something back to the Lord. My mom didn't raise no ingrate, and therefore we took our musical talent and said, okay, let's give that back to the Lord. Let's produce some gospel music. So I had to finish the basement and set up the studio and all that, and we started producing gospel music. Gospel music then led us to a radio program that
Hmm.
my nephew wanted to do. So I said, he asked me if he could broadcast from my studio, and I said yes. He said, you know how to do that? I said, yeah, right. You know how it goes. We'll figure it out. I'm used to figuring out things
Absolutely.
that don't exist. So I put it together, and I found when I did that, he was on 5 different radio channels. So he had a networking company that put him out there. So that was great. He went on to Fox Sports, and the rest is history with him. But when I was
Hmm.
producing that and sending that signal out, I found that I have video right here. The video, I pull in video and sound. so I can put video out. Now, this was before YouTube. So I was the only
Mm-hmm.
one who then decided, let me step this up. Let's go to level 2 for the Lord. Let's do some talk shows about
Uh,
Christian topics.
come,
So I
yeah,
started pulling in people who wanted to do that, similar to what you're doing. And I would pull them in, produce the show, put it out, and we had nice followings with that. So one thing led to another, and it all started with that house the Lord blessed us with. And it
Yes.
continues on even today when I'm doing talk shows, or now I'm doing film, and that's the next step for me. But
Yes.
it all started with that whole thinking that says, let's give something back. Let's
yeah,
not be ungrateful. You have to put an action behind things.
yes,
You can't
Yeah.
just say thanks. Sometimes you need to go in and inconvenience
Mm-hmm.
yourself, sacrifice. Some of that needs
absolutely,
to be in your thinking.
absolutely.
Yes. Absolutely. And with you, reiterating that point, and thank you for that, we definitely have to keep pushing forward. And if we're passionate about something, we have to make sure that we keep at it. Uh,
Hmm.
with that, we know that sometimes the next assignment doesn't replace the previous one, it simply builds upon it, right?
Hmm.
As opportunities emerge for you, how did you discern which ones were truly aligned with your purpose and which ones were simply distractions?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's a good
We're
question. Yes.
always faced with
Yeah, both
distractions.
of your questions are great, and there's so many ways you can go with any of them because your questions are so broad-minded. So, um, with regard to the science end versus the creative end, the science end, how did I know to go from this job to the next? Well, oftentimes purpose is driven by necessity. So, if I needed more money, then I'm going to be looking for the next opportunity that pays more money. So in science, I was working for an environmental company and I
Mhm.
needed more money. And I heard I could get hired with EPA. So I sent a letter to the administrator there saying, here's my resume. I'm looking for a position. Do you have any? And he filtered that resume down through all the divisions. And one of them called me. And that's how I got into EPA, was just simply sending a letter. It's nicer if you have an inside track, but not necessarily. The Lord has inside tracks and he has
Yeah.
plans and he will open the right doors. So I went in there with that thinking. And while I was there, I worked in every division in EPA because I wanted more. I was thirsty. I wanted to know what every division did and find my place and my worth in those divisions. That allowed
Hmm.
me to move up. The agency supported that kind of thing. So science wise, it started with that one desire to do more. We needed more money. My wife was changing jobs and her how did it go? Oh, she was hired. She had gone through 2 of the 3 interviews at a place. I think it was done in Brad Street. And her world is
Hmm.
communications. So she had gone through those and we were waiting on that last one. And the guy who was over that place came back with somebody. He was out of the country or something and he came back with someone for the position. So she was kind of stuck. That made me decide to look for jobs while I was in graduate school at Emory.
Oh,
So
Hmm.
that started that process. So the need and the necessity drives us sometimes. And while I was in there, I needed therefore more money. So that took me to EPA. And so the science side, I saw that grow just based on the simple things in life where you just need more money. It costs you to live in the US of by God, America. And therefore
yeah.
I needed something, a way to be able to do that. And
Yeah.
through the production things, opportunities just keep coming, just kept coming. Everybody who the Lord sent to me, once he told me, if you're doing this for me, you will do exactly what I tell you to do. And if I send somebody to you, you will produce them. I said,
Hmm.
cool, bring it. And he
Oh,
started bringing rappers and all kinds of people. And he
kinds of
said,
people.
when you do their music, you bring it back to the gospel world. And so
See,
that's how we approach that.
that makes me think that your purpose often stretched you beyond what felt comfortable. Can you remember a moment when saying yes to a new opportunity required you to trust something larger than yourself? Would it be times like that when people came in that you didn't expect to produce or to work with?
Word of mouth is an amazing thing.
Yeah.
And so
Mm.
many people came at me just based on the fact that they heard that I exist. I was not necessarily trying to earn a living at producing. I wanted to do that. That's for the Lord. I had money. I was fine. I was eating too much, as a matter of fact. So that wasn't about, it wasn't driven by the financial end of things. It was driven
Yeah.
just to make a joyful noise to the Lord.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I got a lot of word of mouth, but then there are people. Look, when I'm producing a person, first order of business is to talk to them.
Hmm.
What is your ministry? What have you gone through? What's eating you? What
Right.
bothers you? How's the enemy been attacking you? I want to hear that. And I would talk to them and they would explain, this went wrong. I lost my mom, or I lost my boyfriend, or I lost my car, or my child run off, or something. There's always something in their life that caused them difficulty. And therefore, guess what their first song is going to come from?
Mhm.
Hmm.
That place where the
That
Lord
peace.
has trusted you with
Yeah.
that difficulty. He's
Yeah.
trusted you with that. He's not allowing that to happen to see the look on your face. There's
Right.
going to be a ministry that comes out of you from that difficulty. So as
Right.
people came, some of them were more difficult to work with than others. And as I worked with them, some of them were ungrateful to me, ungrateful to the Lord. They wanted to be a star. And if I
Mm.
can't make that happen by this time next week, then they're angry and they're ready to run off. I mean,
Mhm.
the rap world fooled people into thinking you can go in the studio this week and by next week you'll
Yeah.
have money
You'll
that you're
start.
throwing up in there.
Mhm.
Right.
We talk about that all the time.
Yes.
The false
So
expectations.
Yes.
that's right.
Right.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
that was the difficulty underneath it, where I had to help them to gauge that difficulty,
Yes.
that thinking into something that's a reality. And
Hmm.
it just started growing faster than I expected. I had more people coming in than I could count. I produced more people than I can count. The TV shows, I only wanted to do one or two. It ended up being five, six, and it was headed towards
Awesome.
seven. So
Yeah.
that's like every night. And I didn't want to do that many shows, but I also do want to make sure that I'm doing what the Lord will have me do. So I was bearing it and handling it, and all went
Faithful
well.
steward.
Right. But when he said, you can stop now, see, that's what he had to do with me, because I was going to keep going until. So I was
Uh-huh.
producing and kept at it. And so many people I produced, I didn't necessarily plan to do that many, but I needed to do whatever he asked me to do.
Right.
And so the shows went that way. Most things in the production world just unfolded before me that way so quickly. But
Mhm.
I was not looking to work with the heavy hitters. I had opportunities to work with all kinds of people who are high in the gospel music business. But I was looking for that person who was just asking the simple question, can I sing for the Lord? Do I have what it
Mhm.
takes to do that? And
Mhm.
Right.
my thinking is simple. Yes, come in here. Yeah, of
Mhm.
course you can sing for him. Let's get this
Mhm.
going. Yeah,
Mhm.
I have the equipment. I can fix anything. I can produce anybody. So it was no difficulty in terms of making the production happen and making a nice product come out of it. And then it's just whatever the secondary thought would be. They have management, or they have friends or family who was going to connect them, and they went on about their business. But it was just
Mhm.
a
Mhm.
I think Dr. Pollard
Yeah.
broke up a
Yeah.
little bit, but that's
Yeah.
fine. And just to reiterate what you shared with us just now, one thing becomes immediately clear when people speak about your work. They
Mhm.
don't begin by talking about your titles, they begin by talking about your impact and that
Mm.
you've been very impactful. That says so much.
yes.
And because influence may open doors, but investment changes lives. What
Yes.
would you say, Dr. Pollard, has kept people at the center of everything that you've built?
Mm. Yeah.
Good question. Encouragement. I learned
Ah.
that I could work with anybody as long as I could keep them encouraged. Whenever you're dealing with science, or you're dealing with production, creative side, or technical side, no matter where it all goes, everybody has an, a fear that they won't measure up, a fear that the product won't be a good product. that they'll
Mhm.
do something that doesn't measure up and that you'll say, this isn't good. They're worried about that. So I found a long time ago, way back, that I can encourage people, and then you get something out of them, their own personal excellence, that thing that
Mhm.
they can bring to it that you can only get if they're encouraged enough to bring it. So I get past the fear process and get them operating in a place where, okay, I can do this because I'm telling you, you're going to do this. You will not fail. I got you. This is going to go forward. It's going to be better. One of the best things you've ever done, bar none. I will not let you fall.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
Love
that's
that.
how we function. And that's how
yeah.
I worked with all the students I've mentored and all the research projects that have come under my belt that I've done over the past years. In my master's degree training, that was really one of the pivotal places where I applied that. I had I went back to my master's degree training after doing 2 years. I stopped for a year. I was tired and I wanted to pursue music to see if I had what it takes to do music. That's a remarkable talent. If you have any musical skill, you will always be drawn to it. You will never be able to walk away from it. So
Mhm.
therefore, I wanted to know, was I supposed to dedicate my life in part or in whole to music? So I did music 1 year full on. I was in the club all night. I woke up at I would get home at 7:30 in the morning from the club
Uh,
and I'd sleep for 3 hours and then I'd by 11:30 I'm back in the club setting up,
yeah,
but I
yeah.
was pushing and I was building in explosives and everything to try to take it to the next level and putting in full. I wanted to say I gave it my best shot.
Yeah.
And I have a good mind that the Lord gave me to be creative and to keep expanding, setting guitars on fire, having fire come out of my guitar. Oh, it was on.
Mhm.
We were at it. But then one morning I was sitting there in the club watching the sunrise. And I heard
Mm.
the Lord very clearly say to me, you know, you're wasting your time, don't you? And I said, you know, I thought so. Because the only way to stop this is
Yeah,
for
that
you to
kind
intervene. Yeah, it
of,
has to be you because this is too good. Everybody who comes through here wants to sign us. But something always falls through at the last minute.
yeah.
So I thought it was you. And I said, thank you for letting me know. And I went and talked to the other three guys in the band and they told them what had happened. I told them I was quitting. And they said, and I told them why. And they said, you know, my Aunt Judy just told me the same thing. I was wasting my time doing that evil music in that club.
Oh,
And
yeah.
one of them had a sister that told them the same thing. Someone had a prophet that came over and told them the same thing. So the Lord has said no to all of us for that. And
Mm.
I think he did that for my mom because
Yeah.
she was praying for her baby. You know, man,
Mm.
I'm in the club. I'm into the music. You have to have thick skin and a different mentality to survive in the music business. I
Yeah.
did not have that, I don't think. But music wise, oh yeah, I had that.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
that extended capability I didn't have. So he stopped that and I went back to finish my master's degree. And at that point, when I went back to do that, my professor in the lab said, okay, I'm now head of the department and I'm head of all research. I don't have time for my own lab, but you know everything about my lab. Would you be the lab manager? And I said, yeah,
Yeah.
does it pay money? He said,
Yeah. Right.
you have to ask in science.
Yeah. Yes, you
So when
do.
he said that, then we went ahead and I started doing that. But the point of bringing that up is during that time, I was able to reach high school students we had on summer grants. I had
Mhm.
3 undergraduate students doing lab work, and I had 4 graduate students. So I had a lab full of people, and I
Mhm.
had every one of them encouraged to the point where we took them all to a scientific convention, and they all presented papers, and all of them nailed it. Even the high school
Oh,
students, they nailed it
wonderful.
because
Yeah.
I'd taken the time and gave them what they needed to be comfortable talking
Yeah.
through the
Now,
information. And
now
yes,
it's interesting you say that because education isn't simply about transferring knowledge, right?
right,
It's about
exactly.
awakening that possibility. So
That's right.
when you looked into the eyes of a student, a young leader, okay, or someone searching for direction,
Right.
what do you hope they see in themselves that perhaps they couldn't see before?
I really pray and hope that they believe me, because when I tell them you can do this, back to
Uh-huh.
Mabel Phillips, who told me you can do science, I believed her. It
Yeah.
started there. I didn't know. I didn't know that I was good at. I didn't know how good that project was. Heck, if it was
Mm-hmm.
so great, why didn't all the beans grow faster? So,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really know, but I believed her. And I've walked on that belief all of my life. My aunt told me, you can be a scientist and your sister's going to go to law school. I believed her. She said I could do it. My mom said you can go to school to be a doctor. I'm around doctors. She was a nurse. She said I'm around doctors all the time. I see
Mm-hmm.
what their mentality is. It's different than that of a nurse, but I think you can do it. I believed her. So when I'm telling a student, you have to start with that place where they believe in themselves. And that belief, that self-esteem thing,
Important.
is
Mm-hmm.
working in the background. And if someone
Mm-hmm.
has told them you ain't nothing, not gonna be anything, you're gonna be like your old daddy, and all that may be in their past, and you got to get them through that. So I
Yeah.
have to start by saying you got this, not just because
Uh-huh.
you're smart, but I got you. I'm here.
So,
I've
so
done
now,
this.
so now I have to ask you: has there been a student or a conversation that unexpectedly changed you? Like one where you walked away realizing that the teacher had also become the student.
Ooh, good one. I like that one.
Yeah,
I saw your brain going,
yeah. I was like, all right,
Yep.
I can ask him
Well, I think to answer that question, all of them. You see,
that.
while I'm mentoring somebody, I'm learning also. And they
Mm,
mm,
always give back something that I did not expect. They always see the light a little differently than I saw it, and cause me to think, well,
mhm,
I need to rethink that thought. Or, that's a different direction than I had planned for you to go in. When I came up with the study and I wrote the grant for it, or wrote the proposal to bring you in, I didn't think of that. And so oftentimes I love it when you come at me with something that I didn't think of. Oh my goodness, you're going to get some Starbucks from me. Yes, sir. Because that's what I want. I want them to think for themselves. You see, the world always needs you when you're smart. The world always will need you. And so therefore I've tried my best to incite or get that person free thoughts for themselves. And
mhm,
hopefully that is beyond. I don't want you to just learn what I tell you and regurgitate it on the test. Whenever I was teaching environmental science, I really taught that class 70 to 100 students in there. Every time I was in front of them, it was usually one or two, which was my reason for being there. And as I
mm,
talked to them, I could see the light come on in their eyes, and then I saw
mhm.
them thinking about it. And they would come up to me at some point before the class is over and say, this class changed me. I
mm.
appreciate that I got a chance to know you, and I will not forget you.
Well,
That made it all worth it. All the
right,
grading papers and all of that. It was worth it.
right,
Yeah.
right. And there's a responsibility of influence, So, Dr. Pollard, if influence, that's an interesting word that people throw around, and some people pursue it while
True.
others simply become influential because they remain faithful to their purpose. How has your understanding of influence changed over the years? Because you have an influence.
I'm just more responsible in what I do.
Mm, hmm
I think about it before I'm going to work with anybody. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to sit back, get quiet, and
hmm
think through and listen for any insight that the Lord has for me. But I'm going to take a moment out before, so when we meet together, then at that point, I have some kind of blueprint in my head that's
Mhm.
simply going to serve as a starting point. But at the end of the day, it's their life. My job is not to tell people what to do and to simply direct their path. My
hmm
job is to come alongside them and help them figure out their path. And
Yes.
sometimes they just need to, I'm a sounding board. Talk it over with me. I'll remember everything you say to me. My mom wanted me to do this. My dad wanted me to do that. And what did you think?
hmm
Well, I thought I didn't want to do either one of them. I wanted to do what my aunt said. Well, which one do
Mhm.
you think you ought to do? I'd like to do what my aunt said. Okay, well, let's do that. Let's talk about that and move in that direction. And then
Mhm.
after you've done it and found your place in it, you, number one, you will have experience in it. So
Yeah.
you will know whether or not that's something you want to do. Number
Mhm.
two, you'll have an example that you can then take to your mom and dad and say, look at what I did. And this
Mhm.
feels right to me.
Mhm.
They're going to want the best for their child. So they'll
Mhm.
fall in line with that. So mentoring people and working with people, it's all one big bowl of the same thing
Yes.
that you're
Mhm.
trying to help them figure it out. What do I want to do with this life? Like I
Yes.
said, the
Mhm.
Lord has already placed that in you. It's in there.
Mhm.
And he's going to bless and do what he does in your life based on
Correct.
that thing that he gave you to do, their task that is
Mhm.
yours to do. So
Right.
Mhm.
and he will be there for you. As it says, all things work together for good for those who love the Lord and are called by his
Not his
purpose.
purpose. Yeah.
You're called by his
Absolutely.
purpose because he gave you the purpose before you decided which family to come into. And so
Mhm.
then it's just managing to learn to love him. That's your extra part that you bring. And you love the Lord because he first loved you. He did
Mhm.
that. His son, he did that. So who doesn't return love that's given to them?
Mhm.
So helping them
Absolutely.
to figure out their destiny, it ties right into the fact that destinies are already preordained. It's in you already. The
Mhm.
part that the Lord will have you do. But usually a
Mhm.
destiny has several fibers that come off of that and go in so many directions. So
Yes.
yes, I've had a chance to mentor and talk to people in other countries who were older than me. For example, the EPA sent me to Ghana. It's the
Okay.
poorest country in the world. They were setting up their environmental program, and I was invited to come help them set it up. And they did it correctly. They said, "Talk to me about." I sat there and talked to the president of the country, and he said, "Talk to me about what's happening in the children in this country." And that
Mhm.
man burned a hole in my eyes. He was so intent on every word I said. Yeah, it almost unnerved me because of his
Mhm.
stare. He didn't move. It's like he stopped breathing. He was
Mhm.
listening and hanging on every word that I
Mhm.
said
Mhm.
because it
And
was
taking
about
in
the
all of
children.
your energy. Yes. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So I had a chance to do that and help them figure out how best to invest themselves to take care
Mhm.
of the people. That's
And
what it's
Mhm.
that's
all about there, the people.
that's beautiful. And thank you for sharing that Ghana story with us, because these examples that you shared and experiences, they're all leadership qualities. And
Mhm.
leadership often requires making difficult decisions, ones
Yeah.
that not everyone will understand. Have you learned to remain anchored in your values even when facing criticism, opposition, or disappointment?
Absolutely. Excuse me. I should have drank some water before tonight because my
Mhm.
voice is on the edge. Sorry about that. But
Okay.
um, in working for the Environmental Protection Agency, there was this weather event called Hurricane Katrina. That
Mm,
Mhm.
thing was serious. Oh my goodness.
Mhm.
What it did, we focus on Louisiana because of the levees that broke and the
Yeah.
water that came in, and it stayed for almost a month before they
Mhm.
started trying to getting something done. But we really needed to focus on Mississippi. Mississippi is where if you look at a hurricane in terms of the numbers on a clock, so 12
Mhm.
is directly ahead of where it's going, and
Mhm. Mhm.
1 o'clock, that's the business end. That's where that wind is coming around on that time.
Mhm.
It hits on one. So whatever is in front of one is going to be blasted. Well, that happened in Mississippi. When you went to Mississippi, you saw communities where there was just a few twigs sticking up. There were no houses. There was no
Mhm.
wood. There was no sofas. There's no pictures. There's nothing. You see a car in a tree. You're seeing all kinds of insanity. Only reason you know that one right, that street right there is Edward Street, is because you see the street sign. But there's no
Mhm.
houses that were there. That's what happened in
Mhm.
Mississippi. So I got a chance to work with them. We had to figure out what to do with all the debris. And therefore,
Mhm.
as an agency, we decided to burn everything, which meant burning means we're putting waste in the air. Now we have to worry about
Mhm.
who's going to inhale it. That was my
Yes.
job, to figure out what levels were going to be safe for people to continue to breathe. And therefore, I had
Mhm.
to coordinate with all kinds of agencies, federal and state. And it was insanity because nobody agreed on anything. But I had to stay focused and kind of drive the conversation without using a steering wheel. It's sort of like you don't
Mhm.
if you're pushing sheep, you don't just push them. You kind of guide them on one side or the other. You kind of get them to go in the same direction. That was a very difficult task. And what I got from that was that leadership is a difficult thing, especially
Mhm.
when nobody agrees. And I did the
Yeah.
same thing again. You think after that one I would have learned my lesson, but then we had BP oil. There was a spill in
Mhm.
the Gulf of
Oh,
Mexico
yeah.
where
Mhm.
it broke from the bottom. Well, I was the one having to deal with the levels. The decision was
Really?
made to burn it. The oil is sitting on
Mhm.
top of the ocean. We were going to burn it. That puts that oil in the air. Now I have to figure out how to do that in a way that's safe. So,
And you probably did more than anyone else is probably approached it with compassion for
right,
everyone involved. That's rare. That
right.
happens. That rarely happens in this day and age. You
That's right.
probably need to go back to the EPA and finish doing some work because there's some things that are lacking. There's very little compassion, and
Right,
when you talk about influence, it isn't measured by how many people know your name. It's measured by how many people discover their own purpose because they crossed your path.
Yeah.
right, right,
You
right.
know.
And you're absolutely right. The agency, when I first arrived at EPA and got the job there, everybody I met cared about the environment.
Yeah.
Everybody in there was serious. They were doing all kinds of conservation measures, leading their communities. They were all into it that deep and heavy. And
Mhm.
therefore, I had that same mentality. So we were about the business of saving, protecting the environment.
Mhm.
Now, over time, that's changed. It
Yeah.
has been, it's
Yeah.
become complicated, very
Mhm.
complicated.
Mhm.
So we know that it is not as simple as do the
Mhm.
right thing or make this okay for this community. It's business in there, and it's
Yeah.
complicated dealing with businesses who we're
Mhm.
saying you have to reduce what you're releasing because you could be harming people. And if you're
Yeah.
Right.
harming people, they have the right to sue you. So you
Yeah.
want to kind of reduce your levels to this. And they're mad because we're telling people that this is something you can take on. You have to get
Mhm.
together as a community group and figure out how to work with them. Industry will work with you. You just have to talk to them. You can't
Yeah.
yell at them and only picket them. You have to talk to them too.
Yeah.
And therefore, we brought that mentality of conversation that I think was very profound that helped communities at the lower level of
Mhm.
things. It wasn't a national thing. This was at the community level. And I have more of those examples than I can shake a stick at, where we just
Mhm.
were sent in because there was a problem in the community and we were there to make it right and we needed their help. And that's what I would say up front. I'm here to fix some things, but I'm going to
Mhm.
need your help on this. I'll need you to come into alignment with me. I want to hear your ideas. I want you to talk with me and with industry. And we put
Mhm.
our heads together to arrive at an answer that is, first of all, health wise protective for you, but also money wise doable for the company. We need
Mhm.
both. You need the jobs here. So we need to have both. So
Mhm.
negotiation, finding a middle ground where everybody feels like they received a piece of things. Their words were taken into account in the outcome. So
Mhm.
that was the
Mhm.
difficulty part of it, just getting communities together and seeing if we
Yeah.
can find an outcome that pleases everybody.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
hard to please everybody.
That
Yeah.
is so true. It is that, we have to be ourselves first before we can please everybody else. And
Mhm.
it's just funny that you mentioned communities funding, because this leads me into everything about you. You know, one of the realities many purpose driven leaders face is that vision alone isn't always enough, right? And we see
Right.
that with what you had to deal with the EPA, making sure that the funding
Mhm.
was there and making sure everybody had that middle ground, like you mentioned. Communities need the resources,
Mhm.
right? That's the bottom line. The resources necessary.
Yeah.
Schools need investment. Organizations need sustainable funding. Ideas often require someone willing to believe in them financially before others ever see what's possible.
Right.
So tell us, Dr. Pollard, how have you learned to bridge the gap between vision and the resources that is absolutely required to bring those vision to full fruition?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, that's another great question. Okay, you ladies, my goodness, you ask in-depth and probing questions.
Mhm.
The short answer is that I have to slow down and
Mm,
recognize that I need to develop a team every time I'm dealing with the situation. I need so many people to come together. It is not about Solomon being brilliant and bringing his brilliant thoughts, and everybody's going to preach about his. It has nothing to do with that. The best answer is in the debate world, and I don't care if the secretary gave the best answer or where it came from. That's science. The
mhm.
debate is on,
Right.
and where the answer comes from, who cares? We just
Mm.
want the best
We
answer.
want the
And
answer.
that's right. And in the communities, that's what we're looking for from them. What is the best answer for this? And the best
Mhm.
answer is never in one head. It's usually several people that come together and put their thoughts together, and they tweak it and pull it in this direction, pull it in that direction. And when it's all said and done, you all can stand back and say it and say, that's the one. That's
Yeah.
the bridge that's going to allow us to walk across.
Yes. Right.
So forming teams, we call them ad hoc teams at EPA, where we would just I need a hydrologist, I need a endocrinologist, I need this. You need these various pieces, and you go collect the pieces, pull them together, and put our minds together on it with the understanding that we need to make sure this reservoir remains clean and it's getting
Mhm,
dirty. Now let's
mhm.
figure this out. Let's make it make sense. We have to invent technology if we need to. We've done things at EPA that you would never know about. For example, if there's a pool of waste, okay, some industrial waste,
Mhm.
and it's gotten into soil, we have ways of dealing with that where we can dig up the soil, put it into a drum, send enough electricity through it to turn it into marble, and then we
Come
can put
on.
it back in the ground. So that came from a lot of people putting their heads together, engineers, as well as chemists, as well as toxicologists. All of us would get together and decide on what ways we can approach this. And then after we as an agency decide, we have to bring the state in, because EPA in the federal level does
Yeah.
not own the state. The state owns itself. We give them money to have an environmental program. So we
Mhm.
have to make sure it's agreeable with them. And underneath all of that, there's probably something considering politics. There's probably definitely
Mhm.
something in there involving the community and where the community wants to go and what things it needs. So we're putting a lot of eggs in one basket to try to
Yeah.
find an outcome. But it's all about negotiating and looking for the best answer, being
Yes.
comfortable
Mhm.
wherever it comes from. So
Yeah.
that's what we did there. That's the secret of our success as an
Yeah.
agency, is that
Yeah.
we will negotiate with you. We will negotiate with industry.
Mhm.
We don't want to put you
That's
out of
key.
business and close this place, close
Right.
your
That's
factory.
key.
No, we just,
Negotiation.
but
Yes.
we need to coexist. People need
Yeah.
to be able to live. So
Yeah.
we need to find a middle ground. So it's
Yeah.
discussing and talking through it. Yes.
Yeah. You're talking about successful navigated partnerships
Right.
and funding opportunities and collaborative initiatives throughout your
That's right.
career. You know.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
what do you believe that funders are really investing in? Is it simply a program, or are they investing in leadership and credibility and trust and things like that? Because today we're dealing with a whole nother level of environmental things.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
Today, today is so complicated. Out of all the questions you can ask me, the difficult ones have to do with today's climate. It's
Mhm.
hard to figure out anything. I
Woo!
have found
Come
myself
on.
in a place where all the things I once thought would be the normal thinking for anybody who hears this, that's
Mhm.
not the case anymore.
Mhm.
Everybody is so complicated. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, companies still need a good reputation, because people
Mhm.
will not buy you. They will blow you off and never
They
buy
will.
that drug again, even
They
if it kills
will.
them.
They will
Yes.
dog you
So
in a minute, won't they?
that's right. Exactly. So we know that they need a good reputation, and therefore they're looking there or gets them there without all the negative press. And
Mhm.
before you pull out the press and go negative, the best answer is to talk to people, talk to them, because they have a vested. You'd be surprised how you can say to a president of a company, sit down, let's talk. They will sit down right there because they're not interested in blowing off anything that comes back to haunt them later. You know that you have to know what makes them tick, and they have to know what makes you tick. And the only way that they'll know that about a community is by talking to the community. So they have community people who will come to the community, to your high school, to your elementary school, whatever, and engage you and talk about outcomes that affect everybody and that make everybody
Mhm.
feel good. Now, fast forward to your question, which is about today's climate. All bets are off. It's a different world right now. The Environmental Protection Agency has been kind of broken. Most of government, as we all know, has been kind of stripped. So it's not what it once was. It doesn't have the finances that it once had. It doesn't have the authority that it once had. So the government agencies are very different right now. And we have to operate based, I think they will have to operate based on that thinking that says it's not like the old days where there was a law called the Clean Air Act. There was a law called the Clean Water Act. There was a law called the Safe Drinking Water Act. There are laws in place that says you can't do this. Here's what you can do, and here's what you can't do. Those laws were in place, and we were there to enforce the laws. Well, I'm not sure where the laws stand at this point, and I'm not sure where the enforcement capability stands. So it is so completely complicated. And this is the first time you'll hear me say something that I rarely say, which is, I don't really know. I don't know. If I was still there, I would sit there and not know exactly how to move forward because
Yeah.
it is so complicated underneath the general the general nature of the thinking that exists for protecting the environment. It is
Right.
so very different and it's complicated for everybody. So I don't really know how how the agency would handle any of that anymore in this
Yeah.
climate of today.
And that's a
Mm.
fair answer. And I truly appreciate you being so transparent about that because, as you stated, a lot has changed and some of it
Right.
very sad to see. You've shared so much with us this evening so far, Dr. Pollard. And for you in itself, your accolades are very long and you've done so much and you've given so much to society, your community, people that needed the help and just absolutely commendable.
Mhm.
What I would like to pose to you is this. When history reflects on Dr. Pollard's work, what
Mhm.
do you hope people say wasn't simply what you accomplished, but how you made them feel?
Mm. That's a wonderful question.
Another good question. My goodness.
Because you
But
said so much, you are part of so much in our lives.
Yes.
yeah. Well, I think at the end of the day, what I want and what you want is that someone found value in their life that led them to an action that allows them to
Mhm.
then take what they got from
Hmm.
knowing you and then apply it in a way that brings them to a new level or to a new understanding of their purpose and perhaps even finding the answer to their purpose. So I hope that at the end of the day, what people get from me is that he supported everybody. He never turned anybody away. He was always
Mhm.
had a kind word for everybody, but he had a seriously crazy work ethic. I took a
Mm.
class. I took a class while I was in my undergraduate school. They sent me to Berkeley, California to do research there. And while I was there, I was in the lab. I went to the lab at 7 in the morning. I got home to the apartment by 11 that night. And this was for the whole summer. They knew I didn't have a big background in immunology, so they gave me tutors, three of them. So each tutor was tutoring me for an hour and a half. I was in two classes. And soon that went to three, but that was intermittent. So two effective classes that I had to take. And therefore I was really busy. And then I had the lab work, the bench work to do, the research itself. And after about a week and a half, I don't know. I was just tired. I was burned out. And I went to my professor and said, I sat in his office, slumped down in the chair and said, I am so tired. He said, really? I said, yeah. He said, well, you're probably sleeping too much. So I'll tell you
Uh-oh.
what you do. So that's exactly what I said. That's the last thing I expected him to say. So when he said that to me, and he gave me this flyer for a seminar he wanted me to take. The flyer was called Speed Sleeping, Sleeping
Oh,
Faster. So it was essentially what it gave you
oh,
was a big, huge alarm clock. That thing was about this big, about that wide, had a speaker that could
no.
wake up the dead. And every night when you turn it on, you couldn't change the settings in it. When you turned it on, it would roll you back and give you 1 hour less of sleep. So it moved you from 6 to 7 hours back down to four is what it was shooting for. I got happy with the thing and ended up going all the way to 3. So I had 3 hours. I learned to sleep for 3 hours and I was good. And that stuck with me
Mm-hmm.
my whole life. So all the accomplishments that I did, that I've had, reflect that I have a 21-hour day every day. So I can get
Mm-hmm.
so many things accomplished in 21 hours. I think that's a part of what I would pass to anybody. If you can kind of get an understanding of, you need some of your sleeping time to be active time. And sleeping for 8 hours, you can teach yourself to live off of 6 hours and be just fine. And I did that until recently. When I retired, I was still doing 3 hours of sleep. I can't do it now because at this age, this body can't repair in 3 hours. So
Right.
I
You
need to
need
give myself.
brain to repair. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right, exactly. So much to be done and maintained at this age. So therefore, I have to force myself to do 5, 4 if I'm lucky, maybe 5. But
Yeah.
I don't sleep a lot, and therefore, that's what's under the secret of my success is I have more hours to work with than I think is typical. But
Yeah.
therefore, people have to. Time management is a serious thing. If a person is to find their destiny and find their place in this world to leave a mark that can't be erased, time management, it goes back to that so you can be
Yeah.
effective and get things
Yeah.
done no matter
Yeah.
what with no excuses. Don't let
I hear
yourself
you.
have excuses.
I hear you. I hear you. You're talking about being a blueprint, you know?
Yes,
Here,
yes,
here at Infinite Perspectives, we often say that becoming isn't about becoming someone else. It's
right.
about remembering who you've always been beneath everything that asked you to forget. So, how has this journey changed you? Who has Solomon Pollard become because of the life you've lived?
I think the simple answer is I'm multifaceted. I love a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And
Something told me you
anything
were
that
going to say that.
Yeah, I love that. So anything that comes that I may not know how to do it right now, you give me a few hours. I'll figure it out. And now I have a tool under my belt called AI. AI
Yeah.
Mm. Come
takes
on
out the
with
whole concept of I don't know. You'll never get to say that to me again
you.
because
Never say that
there's
again.
you can get an answer that gets you in the ballpark close enough that you can figure it out. Um,
Yes.
when I first retired, I took a job with Remotask. Remotask is a company that does work with AI through Chat GPT, and their job is to correct that thing. Tell it here's an answer that you give to this kind of question. Here's a question where you don't give an answer at all. Teaching AI what's appropriate. I was
Mhm.
working with that thing. My part of it, because I'm in this heavy end of the science world, I guess, they wanted me to hang it up. Make it find a wrong answer. Make it say, I don't know. And I asked that
Mm.
thing. I took it to the edge, but rather than say I don't know, it just would tell me a lie. And I would correct it and tell it,
They
no, it's not. That's not the answer. And then
call
it
that
would read it.
gaslighting. They call that
Right.
gaslighting.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, I
But
wanted to, I didn't mean to interrupt, guys, but there, Some comments did come in. I did share them on screen with us. They popped in. I wanted to give, let them know that we acknowledge and we see you. Thank you guys for tuning in and supporting Dr. Solomon. We did have All Things Ruthless tap in and say good evening, everyone. Charles Lewis said, my friend, I'm listening. I really don't know you. You are a deep brother. And then Denise Perriman said, great interview, Solomon. We couldn't agree more. He definitely amazing. So much to take in and just, sit and go over and just process through what we can do with Dr. Pollard going forward, because there's so much that he has done and so much that he can do for the community. And we just love and adore you. So thank you for sharing everything with us. And for a few final perspectives, I just wanted to, close with something a little fun. One word or whatever comes to your heart. Purpose is.
I can give you answers to that, but there'll never be one answer, one word. Uh,
I love
I
it.
think purpose is success. Success is when you've gotten it done and you're comfortable with what you've done. So when you find the success, it's an internal thing where your heart knows that's the best that I can do. And boy, I think the Lord got involved in that, because that's beyond what my brain would come up with. So purpose is finding that success where you've nailed it. And hopefully you get to a place where you get to the other side and the Lord says, not bad. You're faithful in that. Not bad. I don't think you'll ever say, well done to me. But hopefully if I can get a not bad, I think I'll feel good with that. So,
Okay, now try this one.
okay.
Leadership begins when
Opportunity dictates it. You need when
I like
something
that
comes to
one.
you.
I do too.
And
That's the logo.
Yes. Yeah. You lead when you need to lead. When sometimes leadership is a destination that you've been shooting for, but sometimes it just presents itself and somebody's got to do it. And you step in and you surprise yourself because you're thinking, I'm not going to get this right. I don't know what I'm doing exactly. But then you get it done and you're sitting there going, wow, okay, the Lord must have had that for me. He must have had this plan and this challenge for me. Getting to a place where you're just eating challenges for lunch, eating challenges for breakfast every morning, that you look for a challenge and you smile when one comes, but don't run from them. Because challenges is where you grow and you surprise yourself. You blow your own mind. You blow yourself away. But taking on those challenges and then leadership comes up in you because you have to meet the challenge. I think it's driven in that direction. Yeah.
I love that. So what about this one? One quality every young leader should protect no matter what.
Whoa.
He's just like, you know what?
Well, none of your questions are straightforward and simple. You ladies have been thinking through this, and I applaud you for that. Okay. Integrity. I think that's the key word I would use, because integrity will be there once you're gone.
So important.
Just do what you're going to do, thinking that everybody's watching. Everybody's going to know what I've done. People will be affected by this. So walk in that place where you try to put the best foot forward.
Yeah. Okay, now here's an easy one.
Okay.
The world needs more. I thought that was easy.
You go again. World needs more people of integrity, people who hang there, who are what they say, who actually operate in that. Not just saying, yes, I'm going to do this and I'm going to vote this way, and then they don't. Where's your integrity? If you're not going to vote that way, then just say it. That's your call. Who cares? We all have the right. Nobody's going to beat you up about it. It's just fine. But whatever the issue
Father would
is,
absolutely love you.
I know. I know.
and I even really look forward to integrity when it comes to the young people. You know, the dating world is
Yeah.
so complicated, especially here in Atlanta. Nobody's committing to anybody. Everybody's, I
Preacher.
call it, just playing the game. And
Hmm.
people, I see all these broken-hearted people who thought this was going this way or thought this was pretty okay, and then all of a sudden, it's just gone. And I'd like for people to say what you mean. If you're not going to be in a relationship that's going to lead somewhere, well, that's called a coffee buddy. Okay, you can just drink coffee until life goes,
Hmm.
until the cows come home. But when you
Mhm.
commit to a person and have them thinking that it's going one way and you break that, you can't go through life crushing people and breaking hearts. When you're young, I can see that because you have to figure it out. It takes a minute for a boy to grow into a man who knows that his word is his bond. It takes a minute, but in the meantime, wreckage. Look on every
Hmm.
side of him, wreckage, and he'll get to a
Hmm.
point where he'll stop causing wreckage. He'll look back at it and go, "Man, I was a Lulu," and he moves in a different direction. Well, I like for that to come a little bit earlier in people, especially in
What
the
age?
dating.
What age do you think that needs to happen?
Say that again.
What age do you think that they need to have that aha moment?
Um, 18. My in the old days, my granddad married my grandma when he was 13, and they were married 75 years.
Come
And
on.
that's why I'm strong in marriage, is because he said marriage is not for children. It's for
Mhm.
grown-ups who
Mhm.
know that when you say I do, you're cutting a covenant with God Almighty. And
Mhm.
therefore you want to take your covenants very seriously because life could be bad otherwise.
Yeah.
And yeah, there are reasons that marriages do end. And I get that, and that's fine. And I'm not saying this is a global umbrella that I'm putting up. I'm just saying that it's worth taking time out to work through it, to figure
Mhm.
it out, to accommodate the other person, to be out of your own skin and be in their skin and seeing it their way because
Yeah.
their reality is their reality. Whatever they say, they're
Mhm.
right. And
Mhm.
therefore meeting them in that
Absolutely.
place. I
Mhm.
think I think the Lord is really hoping that we'll turn the marriage thing around. We're at 59% of marriages going under.
Mhm.
That's kind of high, okay, in my opinion. And either that says be slow to really get into the marriage thing or really educate, figure out what you need to do before you select somebody. You have to know what you're looking for. And it's not a haphazard, I hope I luck up on somebody. Sometimes it's like I have to have an idea of what I'm looking for. And dating should get you that, to take time out and get to have an understanding of what I like in this person, what I like in that person. I'm just dating them. We're just meeting and doing some dinner and talking. And
Yeah.
I learned what I like in people. So when I finally start thinking Mr. Right or Miss Right, whichever the person, if it's male or female, Mr. Right, Miss Right, I have an idea of what I'm looking for.
I
So when
got
you make the call and say, that's the
you. Yeah.
one right there,
Yeah.
and you
That's a-
can stand on that because you were looking for something specific and you found it in that one, and you can
right.
therefore stand still
Well,
in it.
well, they need to call you if they need some counseling before they get into a relationship like that. We're going to come to you. Listen,
They
Dr.
call me
Pollard,
after the fact. They call me after the divorce. That's
after
how they.
that, we call it what it's like.
He said it's always post the drama.
Yep.
It's always too late when they call you. Well, as a final reflection, Dr. Pollard, if someone is watching tonight feeling uncertain and questioning whether their life has meaning or wondering if it's too late to begin again, what would you want them to know?
Self-esteem is where everything begins. How do
Mhm.
you see yourself? You got to be your own best friend and your own cheerleader. You got to wake
Absolutely.
up every morning telling you got this. Not bad. You did good yesterday. This is going to go well today. You got to be your own cheerleader,
Mhm.
encouraging yourself. It may not be anybody else who will ever encourage you. So, in the words of, I think it was one of my best biblical figures. I'll think of the name. Sorry, it ran out of my head. But he said, sometimes I have to encourage myself. I just get
Mhm.
alone by myself, and I just think, David was his name. He
Wow.
encouraged him. He went over in a cave, over away from all the people who were
Mhm.
complaining, and he encouraged himself. I would say, Learn to encourage yourself. I do that by I just take myself out and buy me an overpriced cup of coffee. And I make myself smile from that. You got to keep yourself going. You got to be your own best friend. You can't depend on it from
Mhm.
girlfriends and guy friends and all that. That's so complicated. If you
Mhm.
have one that can do that, that's great. If you
Yeah.
have family that can be happy for you and encourage you, that's great. But more than likely, the only place you're going to find that helping hand is at the end of your own arm. And you got to kind
Yes,
of look out for you.
Mhm.
So,
absolutely. I agree. And you definitely brought that song in my head. Encourage yourself. Anyway,
okay,
before
that's
we
right.
close, Dr. Pollard, is there anything we didn't ask or anything that your heart would like to leave with our audience and your community that supported you tonight?
Um, I want them to receive the blessing. I have been writing software all my life, and I'm now converted that software into internet software. And there's
Mhm.
7 pieces of software that I have put out there across the science world as well as the entertainment world. And I
Okay.
kept the prices real low or free. The science
Mhm.
world, all that is free. The entertainment world, 3 out of the 4 have cost to them of $40 for a whole year. So I'm trying to keep it affordable because I want this to be a blessing. I made sure that I involved AI in everything I do. They all get it done nicely. So they're out there and they're
Mhm.
available at feaworld.com. And the one for ministry, and this is the last anecdote I'll tell you about. When I was looking at retirement, I said to the Lord, I'm going to do some intense Bible study for you. I'm going to start with the book of John and I'm going to blow it up. I'm going to go in and learn everything there was about the era, the people he was talking to, everything. I want to know the streets he were on, well, the wood, the
Mhm.
dirt roads he was on. I want to know everything.
Mhm.
It's for those
I
who want
think.
to know. I want to go in for you. And the Lord wouldn't let me do it. I just couldn't
Mhm.
start it. Now, I'm not that kind of guy. When I set my
Mhm.
sights on something, I'm going it. I could not get it done.
Get it
And
going.
then a year ago came up and I started working on software and the doctor said you can't write it yourself because my thyroid started bothering me. So I had to
Mhm.
back off. But then AI kicked in and I started learning how I can use AI to write some of the language. Python is a language that I don't know. I'm good with most programming languages, C plus and all that, and I wrote the software already in C plus, but I needed
Mhm.
to bring it to the internet. And therefore AI gave me that bridge to bring over what I've done into something that I can therefore market to people. And I
Mhm.
had no idea I was going to be doing a gospel piece of software. That
Wow.
software takes it
Mm.
out there. Oh my goodness. If you're a preacher, get the software. It's free. Okay, you
Yeah.
just download it.
All
And you
right.
want to do Bible study, it will take you there. And it has deeper dives. It'll give you 10 pages worth of
Mhm.
information beyond. So I
Well, we got
think
to
the
tell
software is
Carlotta
what I,
about that. Mhm. Mhm.
yes. So
Yeah.
that's the only thing I would say is engage the software because it'll make life nice for you or
Yes,
easier for
yes,
you.
yes, yes. I
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
that you mentioned sequel. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
Java. But yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Been there too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
foundations. Like,
Yeah. One of our sponsors, Carlotta Cole, is
Okay.
working on a Bible study, so she might be very interested in that program.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's free for Pete's sake. Just join
Yeah.
in and that
I'll,
thing it goes as far as I could make it go. And I pushed it hard. So
yeah.
that one's as good as I could imagine it being. And I
Yeah.
hope it's useful to somebody,
Yeah.
especially in the Bible study world, because I wanted to do Bible study on steroids.
Yeah.
And that's what I got in that thing. Oh yeah, it takes you on the ride of a lifetime. Gives you pictures of the people that you're dealing with in the Bible, the people who Jesus was walking with. It gives you a representation of what they look like if a picture exists, and if
Mhm.
not, it will make one based on what it knows about Scripture. It's
Mhm.
pretty extensive, so I'm saying, and that's free. I keep it going back to that. Free is my favorite word. I never hear
That's
that as
good. We everybody loves free.
I'm
Well, one
telling
final question we have for you is if you could sit with your younger self today, what would you say to young Solomon?
let it go where it goes. It's going to be a conflict. It's going to be a heck of a ride. Let it go wherever it goes. Don't second guess yourself. Don't be questioning yourself. Don't feel guilty because you're putting more time in this and not in
Mhm.
that. You're going to get it all done, especially after you take that class that allows you to get 3 hours of sleep per night. You
Yeah,
will
yeah.
get it all done. You'll be the great dad that your children need you to be. You'll be doing all the things that you're capable of doing, but just keep your faith and know that you have a destiny, a destiny that goes in so many directions. I'm not one of those people who can settle into one thing and do that for life, and they're comfortable with that. That's okay with them, and I'm okay with that. I went in so many directions. Oh my goodness. And it was been a heck of a ride. So I would just encourage him to let it go wherever it goes. And it's
Let it
going
go
to
with
be all right.
it. It'll be all
Always going to be all right. Yeah.
right. Yes. Thank you, Dr. Pollard.
This
'Cause-
has been a blast, ladies. I have
yeah,
enjoyed this thoroughly. I know we have to set a limit and kind of stop because we can't talk for 4 hours,
yeah.
but
But we're
this has been
fine.
a lot of
We're
fun.
all
I love
right.
the way you ladies think. I love the questions that you're asking, and I love the things you're doing with the other people that you've interviewed.
Yeah.
So this is the show to be on. I would recommend this to
Oh,
anybody. Yes, absolutely.
well,
Yes.
we truly appreciate that so much. Thank you. Gratitude is absolutely ours. And what the takeaway for tonight, the reflection for everyone is, you know, tonight reminded us that purpose is not a destination, it's a
Mm,
lifelong unfolding.
mhm.
Your
That's right.
story has shown us that one life can indeed hold many callings when each one is rooted in service, guided by your favorite word, integrity, and
Absolutely.
anchored in something greater than ourselves. And we want to say thank you very much for this reminder that our greatest
Absolutely.
contribution isn't found in how many titles that we hold, but in
Right.
how faithfully we steward every opportunity that we've been given.
Yes. And we want to thank you for reminding us that purpose doesn't ask us to become someone we're not. It asks us to become more fully who we were created to be. So
Right.
tonight wasn't simply a conversation about leadership or education or influence for that matter. It was a conversation about building a life that continues serving others long after the applause has faded. And for that, we are deeply grateful.
Yes, thank
My
you,
Yeah,
pleasure.
Linda.
yeah.
Thank you. And Dr. Pollard, again, thank you for joining us. And to you, our amazing supporters, all his links are scrolling down below and through the entire interview and dialogue that we've had. So amazing. And of course, this will be archived on Linda's YouTube platform as well as the Infinite Perspectives platform. You could have access. You could always rewatch and grab those links or just reach out to one of us if you want to connect directly with Dr. Pollard. We will dial him up. We have a connection and get you there. So thank you again, everyone. If tonight's conversation inspired you, encouraged you, or challenged you in a way that you think about purpose, we did our job.
Mhm.
Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and invite someone else into the conversation because every conversation has the potential to become someone else's turning point.
Oh, yes. And remember, your purpose isn't measured by how many roles you hold, but by how faithfully you live each one. So
Yes,
until next time, continue building, continue becoming, continue walking boldly in your purpose, and never underestimate the impact one life can have when it's lived with intention.
yes, and we saw that through Dr. Pollard's exemplary actions throughout his life. And this is Infinite Perspectives, where voices become vision and vision becomes infinite possibilities.
Yes, good night, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
Mwah.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
How you gonna change the things around you? Oh, what you gonna love inside of you? Oh, when you gonna hear his revelation?